The truck world news is bursting at the seams this week.
It is indeed. And if I may go into my radio voice.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Beverly Hills, your Cadillac has arrived.
I think you have in mind the all-new, first ever 2025 Cadillac Escalade IQ.
That is a battery-operated Escalade, folks.
EV.
It's an EV.
So we're kind of being silly, but seriously speaking, this is big news, right?
It is. It's part of a larger trove of news coming out of General Motors in terms of their switch from gas to electric.
And we love Escalades here at TFL Talking Trucks.
I really like the supercharged ones, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, because look at this. We recently did a story. I had a pleasure of driving the Escalade V, supercharged monster.
It is a beast.
Yes, and mwah. You know the noises it makes. Did you drive it when
Yes,
it was
I did.
here?
Of course I did. It was on the. I put it on.
Oh, that's right.
in
You
drag
you
race.
were racing across airstrip.
That's exactly what I want to do with this thing.
Yes, but now there's another Escalade in town.
Yeah.
That you could drag race.
Yeah,
And actually, I want to see that.
That would be worthwhile.
Escalade V versus IQ.
Okay, well, we have a lot to cover, but we will get into the meat and potatoes of what the IQ is all about and why it is on the truck talk side
Yes.
of everything as opposed to the car one. It has a frame, so
Yes,
something you should keep in mind.
Exactly. And we also have other news. For example, Fisker Alaska pickup was unveiled just a few days ago.
Yeah.
And also more news about our old diesel Ford,
Yep.
our OBS F250 Power Stroke.
Yep.
And much more. And also, we have a comment and question from Patreon, from our Patreon supporters.
Yeah. Now, the big thing about this video and this podcast is that about 3/4 of the way through, you're going to see a interview that Andre did with, I believe, an engineer from Cadillac.
Not any engineer. Mandy Damon, chief engineer of the Escalade IQ. And I had the pleasure of speaking with Mandy several days ago, actually. This was well before the embargo,
Right.
before the Escalade actually launched. So how about this? How about we thank our Patreon supporters first?
Yes.
So thank you, Patreon supporters. Patreon.com/TFL Car is where you can support us. And we'll address at least one question later on in the show. We can actually play the interview. I want to get to it actually sooner rather than later.
Okay.
And then you and I, we have to put it in perspective, right?
Yes.
And discuss other news.
Exactly.
Welcome to a very special episode of TFL Talking Trucks because I'm here with the introduction, world debut of the new 2025 Cadillac Escalade IQ. And IQ stands for electric.
Yeah, it's our electric Escalade. That's
Yes.
right.
And
Yes.
I have Mandy with me from the engineering team. You're the chief engineer for this.
I am, yes.
So can we walk around this new vehicle because it's large, like an Escalade should be, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's
And-
probably one of the first things you noticed, right? Was this like very bold athletic stance and just its presence in this room.
Yeah, totally. I mean, when I think Escalade, I think, large, big presence, because I think that's what customers are looking for.
Yeah,
But now,
that's right.
this is not the same Escalade that was there before, is it?
It's not, no. We really reimagined this and started from the ground up with this being electric. One of the first things you'll see here too is this 24-inch wheel and 35-inch tire. It's very much fits into the proportions of the vehicle. If you see it, out on the streets though, it's wow. We've got Magna Ride and air suspension, 100% standard on all these vehicles. We also have four-wheel steer that enables us, from a maneuverability standpoint, you can do a lot with that. It decreases our turn circle such that this is the best turn circle that an Escalade has ever had. So although it looks very big and bold, you get in it and the vehicle really shrinks around you because of that suspension technology.
Well, let's take a kind of a step back, right?
Yeah.
And I want to look at the profile of I'm going to call it the truck.
Yep, please, we do.
Well,
Yeah.
because traditionally the Cadillac was, frame-based, truck-based platform.
That's right.
With lots of luxury, lots of power. But it looks like the wheelbase is quite long because the wheels are pushed out
That's
to the
right.
corners.
Yeah, we really pushed the wheels out to the corners. That's what enabled this very expressive design. I mentioned, the four-wheel steer and how that helps us from a turn circle perspective. We do have a lot of cargo space, both front and rear. And, although it's so big and bold, 0 to 60 in less than 5 seconds in our Velocity Max mode. We've got a 24 module battery pack in there, which will get you up to 450 miles of range on a full charge and 750 horsepower.
So more horsepower than the current Escalade V, which is already pretty monstrous, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then the overall length of this new IQ Escalade is about the ESV size. So ESV is the long wheelbase, right?
Correct, yes. That's right.
But the roof line is a bit different.
It is,
right? Because the current one kind of has a little bit higher roof in the back.
That's right. And we stepped away from that a little bit to get this expressive design and really, to meet our EV customers and those that want to purchase this vehicle where they are. So a bit of a departure from that, but this is still a 3-row Lux 5 SUV, got 7 seating positions, and then we have available executive second row.
All right, well, let's take a look at the rear before we start go inside and kind of looking at some of the details. I can see kind of traditional Escalade, kind of a vertical light signature here in the back as well.
Yeah, we stayed true to the brand there. The Escalade nameplate is strong. The Cadillac brand has had the vertical lights now, and we stuck with that. And then just added some details like the piano keys that you see here in the rear. And we do have approach lighting where an animation and choreography plays when you walk up to the vehicle with the fob in your pocket, and then departure animations when you walk away. The vehicle kind of says hello and goodbye to you.
You've got the Escalade name badge here in the back.
Yeah.
And down below, it's not shown right now, but it's still a truck, so it will tow, right?
That's right. Yeah, and this is where we really didn't compromise. We've got up to 8,000 pounds of towing capability. Should you want to take your boat, to the lake on the weekends, and you can absolutely do so.
All right, so I think maybe we could start to look inside. So let's open. Can we open all the doors while we talk about charging?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So the charge port here is on the driver's side in the back.
Correct.
So you still have it, like you said, 24 module Ultium system.
That's right. Yep.
So which means it's capable of pretty fast charging as well.
Yeah, if you're DC fast charging at 350 kilowatts, you can get 100 miles of range in only 10 minutes.
So that's kind of similar to some of the other vehicles, on the same kind of Ultium battery structure.
Exactly. And then, giving our customers 450 miles of range, you can do a lot with 450 miles.
All right, so let's start to look inside because that's, where the Escalade really kind of shines, right?
Yeah.
So let's start in the front.
Okay. So we've taken a more minimalist approach on this of removing some of the physical buttons and making the virtual controls, really putting them right at your fingertips. So that front command center screen that you see, that's where you can easily access your HVAC controls, power open close doors, a lot of your driver settings. The beautiful diagonal 55-inch screen comes standard in every vehicle. On the right side, there is a front passenger infotainment screen that's polarized, so it isn't a distraction to the driver.
So there's like a vertical line there.
That's right. That's where you can see that vertical line. Yeah, but you can stream, your content, and it makes for a very relaxing experience.
And it's a kind of a curved screen. So, this is kind of the first. Well, for an Escalade, right?
It is.
I mean, even though the current one already has, pretty amazing
Not
screen
this
structure.
Big. Yeah, and then you start to see some of the speakers. This vehicle is equipped with 40-speaker AKG system. We've also got laser-etched wood grain in the doors, and that deco does contain lights which you can customize. We've got 126 colors to choose from.
So over here on the door, yeah.
Yep, that's right.
I see all the details. Let me look a little closer. So there's some controls on the left of the steering wheel, right?
Yeah.
And then the steering wheel itself has controls. For example, the heated steering wheel. And then I see already on the steering wheel that the light structure for the Super Cruise.
Exactly. Super Cruise standard. Yeah, Ultra Cruise will be available.
So we haven't, at TFL Truck, we haven't spoken about Ultra Cruise very much. Can you explain a little bit behind, well, we know Super Cruise, right? So it's pre-mapped highways, hands-free driving, but the driver is paying attention.
That's right.
Now, what's Ultra Cruise?
Yeah, Ultra Cruise really takes hands-free driving to the next level. So if you imagine, Super Cruise today, you're able to engage it on mapped highways and kind of sit back and relax. Ultra Cruise will allow you to do that even more places. So think, driveway to driveway. And we've added more sensors into the vehicle and a compute system to help us accomplish that. The redundancy is still the driver, so you need to be ready to engage if needed. But that's also made it so that we didn't have to have a bunch of LiDAR pods on the roof. And a lot of the sensors in Ultra Cruise are, they're hidden from the customer. So that's nice. You can have this hands-free driving experience without all the sensor technology that you see on fully autonomous today.
Well, can you kind of give me some hints where some of the sensors are?
Yeah.
Because even though you've incorporated it, because when I first came up to the truck, I didn't see any bulbous things on the roof, for example.
That's good, yeah. So we've hidden them behind the windshield. We have a fair amount of sensors there. That's obviously, high and center of the vehicle is the ideal spot to put your autonomous driving sensors. And then in the mirrors here, you can see a camera pod there that we snuck in.
So the separate one here.
That's correct, yep. That's specific to Ultra Cruise, as well as, we've got additional radars behind the fascia, and then the cameras in our wheel opening moldings.
So right down, there's one down here.
That's right, there's one there, yes.
So those are the extra, and in the back as well.
Correct,
right?
yep.
So those extra sensors will help, navigating, for example, a city environment as well.
Exactly, yeah. Being able to see, vehicles approaching from the rear, essentially everything that a human driver can observe in the vehicle, even more. And then, taking out the opportunity for human error.
And then you still have the 360-degree view, right? So if the driver
correct.
wants to see that,
yes, yeah,
they can see that.
Yes, the 360 view, that'll be at your fingertips too, something that you can easily get to and then use it to help you park or maneuver in tight spaces.
Cool. Let's keep kind of digging on the inside.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of leaning in.
Okay. Check out that console too. That's something we're really proud of a new, fresh way to integrate the front console there with it being kind of cantilevered and floating from the IQ.
Yeah, let's show that, because you also have kind of the screen in the center console for some controls.
Yep.
And then the dial, is that the...
Multifunction controller.
Okay.
You can use that. And you are able to reach the center screen, but if you're more comfortable and relaxed with your arm on the armrest, you can use that multifunction controller to get to any of the settings.
Gotcha. And then your reverse and drive, that's the stock on the
correct
on the column, right?
Yep. That's right. And this does have passive power mode too. So you may notice there's no start button on this, but
so you kind of jump in, close the door, if the key's in your pocket, let's say.
Yeah.
And the vehicle's already on,
That's right. Vehicle's on, push the brake, shift to drive and go. So very, very seamless for the driver.
All right, so now the doors will also have power open and close. Is
That's
that right?
right. We have optional power open and close. That's on all 4 doors. And then we have the option that the driver's door can power open for you upon approach. So if your hands are full, or you're just walking up to the vehicle, it can open for you and you're good to go.
Okay, now let's take a look on the rear seat here.
Yeah.
So this is still a 3-row.
Yes, it is.
Correct?
Correct, yes.
But here in the middle, you have captain chairs.
Yep. Yeah, and these are, I'd say, they're captain's chairs. They're almost even a little better than that, because we've essentially taken all of the technology that's in the front row seats with the headrest speakers, heat, cool, massage, you name it. It's all there. So this is where you want to sit. This is our executive second row. We even have fold-out tables so that if you're wanting to be productive during your journey, you can do that and have your own tray table. We've got 2 charge mats there, USB. The controls in that command center are great for opening the doors, HVAC, lighting, you name it, it's all there. And then also being able to stream your content from the rear seat infotainment screens.
And then there's the panoramic roof, right? The glass
that's a
roof as
lowy
well.
glass roof that comes standard on every Escalade IQ.
So the center console can be there like this, right?
Correct.
Or there's an option not to have that as well?
That's right, yeah. If you don't choose the executive seating package, then it is more standard captain's chairs with removal of the center console, and then you get the pass-through to the rear seat.
Can we open the rear hatch as well while we're talking about this? So, and I'm assuming the seat reclines also.
It
the
does.
center row, just
Again,
a bit.
yeah, very similar to if you were in the front passenger seat, you can recline and relax back there.
All right, so here's a kind of a sneak peek at first of all, the third row,
Correct,
right?
yeah.
And also kind of the cargo area here.
Yeah. Yep, so we've got the 60-40 seat split, 3 seats if you need them. You can fold it down if you don't, or if you're looking to
And they're like
carry
power
more
folding,
cargo,
kind of
they
like
are.
now, right?
Yep, power folding, exactly.
And like there's maybe a little bit of storage here.
There is, yes.
And then we have to talk about the e-trunk as well,
let's
right?
see that, yeah.
So, because, this is traditional storage here.
It is.
But there's more. Can we open the frunk or e-trunk,
Yeah.
right? So the front compartment.
That's right.
And the hood is really long.
It's a big hood. Yes.
There's no engine in there.
There's no engine, no. And this is another place where, building an Escalade IQ from the ground up gave us the freedom and to make this what we wanted. We've got 12 cubic feet here of storage. So we showed you the rear. Now in this front space, there's a lot that you can do with this, even a couple of golf bags. We've talked to a lot of people that feel good about being able to put objects in here and feel like they're secure because it's out of sight and most people don't expect it. There's lighting for it. We've got the outlets there. We have hooks to make sure that your items don't slide, and then some accessories that will be available too, like a sliding tray so that you don't have to worry about reach.
Yeah, for example, like here,
Yes.
400 watts.
Yeah.
But tell me about like vehicle to grid capability, right? Because how's that going to work?
Yeah, we'll have vehicle to home capability with this. If your home loses power and you want to keep your refrigerator running so that you don't lose all of your food items, you can very much feed power from the vehicle back into your home.
And that would be done using the charge port?
Yes,
Okay.
correct, yeah. We've got an adapter with our charge port that will make that possible.
Very, very neat. So tell me about kind of the power. We talked about 750 horsepower combined.
That's right.
Right? But tell me about the motors and how it's laid out. It's 2 motors,
Yeah,
correct?
it's 2 motors. We've got a front drive unit and a rear drive unit. That's delivering power to the 4 wheels. In our Velocity Max mode, 0 to 60 is less than 5 seconds. So, this thing goes. And we've been testing that recently. And every time we just look at each other and you can't help but smile when a vehicle of this size has that amount of acceleration.
It's very, very neat.
Yeah.
So have you tested or have you driven some of these
We
already, the
have.
prototypes?
We have, yeah.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate, it was so impressive. Just the acceleration, the maneuverability, of course, the active safety technology that's in this, and then just the luxurious materials, right? You get all of that with MR and air and premium seating materials and this very minimalist IP with huge screens. It's an incredible experience.
Very cool. So I was reading some of the specs on this. So starting price will be $130,000.
Correct, yeah.
This is a 2025 model. So it'll be built next year or middle of next year?
Yeah, we're
Or-
targeting next summer, yeah.
Okay, to start production.
Exactly, yeah.
So we're like a year away, maybe-ish, right?
Yeah.
From the IQ to come out. And the IQ name, so you have, Cadillac has other IQ, well, like Celestic and Lyric, right?
Correct,
Is that
yes.
kind of the play on that?
That is, yeah.
Naming?
Yeah, as you've said, Cadillac's been coming out with the new naming convention and following the IQ because Escalade customers have certain expectations and it's such a strong nameplate that we wanted to stay true to. That's why we chose the Escalade IQ naming convention. So, it really satisfies customer base today and stays true to the Escalade nameplate while reimagining it as an electric vehicle.
So, and that will come kind of in one size, right? Because people are used to kind of the shorter wheelbase now and kind of the long one. But the idea is that it will come this way.
For now.
Correct?
Yeah, that's it.
Well,
Yeah.
tell me about future products.
I can't. I will next year. No.
Okay, no, we're joking about this.
Yeah, no,
oh,
thank you.
I see there's some sensors up there as well,
That's right.
and the cameras.
Yeah, the rear-facing cameras. Yeah, so your standard rear backup cams, which we know and love, and then I mentioned during Ultra Cruise and even Super Cruise of lane changes and knowing if a vehicle is coming up behind you, in addition to just pedestrian alerts and having all the sensors in the rear so that it can really put eyes in the back of your head.
Oh, I just noticed, I can see through here, I noticed the trailer brake controller.
Yeah.
So it's still a truck.
It is. It's absolutely still a truck, yes.
You can kind of see it if you look through by the dash in the front.
Yeah,
So-
that's one of the few physical controls we kept in the vehicle.
Well, that's important for safety,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, yes.
And Super Cruise includes towing,
Yep,
right?
correct, it does now.
Okay, yeah. So even if you have a trailer behind the vehicle, which is kind of a complex situation, right? Because if you're towing up to 8,000 pounds, there's a lot going on.
Yeah,
there.
a lot of development work, but the vehicle's ready to respond to that and knows what you're doing.
Very cool. What's like your favorite part about it?
I've got to say the driving dynamics. Just, I can't say it enough. To get into a vehicle, it's so quiet, it's so luxurious. The amount of acceleration you get with really good ride and handling performance.
Well, you talked about
is stellar.
MagnaRide as well,
MagnaRide,
right?
yep.
So is that active? I mean, it's always kind of adjusting,
It's
isn't
instantaneous, yeah. The response rate on our 4th generation of our MagnaRide suspension technology is phenomenal.
So yeah, it's adjusting to like different road surfaces,
It is.
curves or straights, right?
That's right, yeah.
Interesting.
And then having the 4-wheel steer, 100% air suspension. We've done a lot. We've got road noise cancellation, everything. We put it all in.
Well,
Yeah.
this is the flagship, right?
That's right, yeah.
Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you for
thank
walking
you so
me
much. Nice chatting with you.
walking around the Escalade IQ and seeing it for the first time right here. So that's very special. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's continue. First, let's go into Patreon. For those of you who don't know, we only have one way of supporting us with Patreon. We only have
One page.
One page. And that is the only way you can support us on Patreon. But with your support, this has actually helped us do what we're doing right now.
Yes. So we have a comment or a question from Ben Furco. Sorry, Ben, if I messed up your last name.
I'm loving it, but keep going.
So actually, we have more news because recently the Land Cruiser launched, right?
Yes.
It's not technically a truck also, but it is a frame. It's related to the Tacoma, of all things.
Yeah, it's a
Yes,
truck.
it's a truck.
Why wouldn't it be a truck?
Yeah, it's a truck. So Ben says this. I have a new video idea if you're interested. Comparing the all-new 2024 Land Cruiser from Toyota against the 2024 Hyundai Santa Fe. Have you ever thought about that comparison, my friend? I just surprised you, didn't I?
I wasn't expecting that, but I think I understand where he's going with this.
He says he's considering both because both of them have kind of boxy retro designs, and he really loves that. And you just had your hands on the Santa Fe, right?
Right. And so, unfortunately, I can't say a word about it in terms of anything, really. I can't even provide actual pictures of it yet because they haven't really been released. But here's the good news. That particular vehicle we did cover ad nauseum.
Yes, and this was the XRT concept as well.
Yes, and there is an XRT concept which has more off-roady components hanging off of it. And what he's referring to, I would say, is that the overall look, they're both essentially two-box platformed vehicles in terms of they look like old-school SUVs. But they're very, very different in terms of how they're built.
Yeah, well, the Santa Fe, it's mostly based on kind of a crossover chassis,
It's exactly
right?
it, yes.
And the Land Cruiser is a body and frame vehicle.
Precisely.
Traditional. And one is off-road worthy, the Land Cruiser, low range, all those things, pretty great ground clearance. The Santa Fe, it's also sort of, dirt worthy, but less so.
I can simply put it into the court of what the Land Cruiser is. And the Land Cruiser is an actual truck that can handle actual hard off-roading. It has suspension travel and everything else that are far more akin to a truck than, say, a crossover. Crossover vehicles like the Santa Fe are really not built for serious rock crawling. But with that being said, we've proven in the past with the old Santa Fe that they're fairly capable as well for light off-roading.
Exactly. So, will we do a comparison between them? Possibly if we have them available to us at the same time?
It's possible that we may have them at the same time, and I think it would make for a fun video because you can really get some people scratching their heads looking at these two vehicles that look kind of similar and at the same time are very, very different in terms of what they're capable of doing.
Well, thank you for your comment and question, Ben. Well, now let's jump in directly into Escalade IQ interview so you guys can actually hear from the development team, the engineering team, Mandy, who was leading that team, about what the Escalade IQ actually is, and then we have to discuss it.
All right.
Whammo.
Okay, so really deep in the weeds on this vehicle. And let's recap what we have just discussed. This is a large SUV, not a small, not a mid, a large SUV.
Full size, dude.
Full size.
It was evident as soon as I walked up to it in person. It had presence. It's hard to express that using just a picture of a SUV sitting by the curbside, right? But when you're approaching it, this is a large vehicle. And I think it has to be. It's imperative because Escalade has a history of being very large, luxurious, big truck-based SUV.
That's right. So you folks in Beverly Hills who are driving G-Wagons, when that becomes no longer vogue because the evils of gasoline, this may be your choice. Now, there are a couple things I wanted to point out right away that I noticed. One of which is that, and we discussed this off camera, the hood is remarkably long, especially for a vehicle that, technically speaking, doesn't really need a hood at all or much of a hood.
Exactly.
It's just really, really big, which kind of harks back to really old school Cadillacs. And I kind of dig that. I think that's kind of a cool styling part. But in addition, the interior is huge.
Yes, and the wheelbase is also pretty huge. It's really a long wheelbase. So think about Suburban or Cadillac Escalade ESV.
Right.
So it's way stretched out. The wheels are pushed out, as you saw. And the hood is also, remarkably long, but it uncovers a space. They call it e-trunk or frunk, right?
E-trunk.
Electrical trunk?
Okay.
Really,
well,
come on.
Yeah, I know, seriously. They can do better.
So styling, I think they nailed the styling, if I may say so. I mean, it still needs to grow on us a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You need to see it in person. We need to drive it. But I think they really nailed the size and styling. But I'm not so sure they nailed everything about this.
Well, a couple questions leading up to it. First of all,
Yes.
the platform, is it based on something like a Hummer EV or perhaps maybe even a Silverado EV?
So they also have the GMC Sierra EV truck that will be hitting the market very soon. I believe because it's a little bit narrower and elongated, so it's not really a Hummer, so to speak, quote unquote chassis, even though all of them are called Ultium. So Ultium is kind of this overarching term that they use for actually everything, including their smaller Escalade vehicles.
Right. So this is battery tech, essentially, that it's referring to.
Yeah, and they have this IQ name. Let's address the name
Okay.
first. So inside TFL, we're calling this the Escaladic. Do you
Because
like that?
IQ at the end of it, I get it.
Yeah. But really, it's their kind of electrification strategy for Cadillac, right?
Okay.
So they have the Celestiq, and they have the, what's the other one?
Oh,
Celestiq Lyric.
the Lyric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Celestiq is their amazing new sedan, right? Which starts at $340,000.
As a lot of money for any sedan.
Yeah. This thing, I think they kind of nailed the price, actually. $130 starting.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
It's a ridiculous amount of
But
money.
consider where it's stacked up against, right?
Right, and that's where this is going. So, one of the vehicles we recently tested was actually a Mercedes that had technically it was a 3-row SUV, although a lot smaller and with a much shorter range, and that was all around the same price.
Exactly. So the Mercedes EQS SUV 580 format. All of these things have long names.
Yes, they do.
And they should fix that somehow.
Yes, they should.
At least the Escalade, kind of the main part of the Escalade, still remains.
Yeah.
It's still called the Escalade.
Yes, I'm grateful for that.
By the way, I asked if this is a replacement for the gasoline Escalade.
And
They said no. They said it's an addition to the gasoline-powered models, which is great because choice is always key, right?
it is. And another thing that we should also point out is that ridiculous price of $130,000+ is actually less than another Escalade.
Yeah, because Escalade V starts at 150, basically,
That's
149.9.
right.
Yeah.
So that's one way of looking at it. Or you can look at it as essentially buying 3 or 4 cars. So now let's go back to the platform and what underpins this vehicle, and kind of go back to its range, battery size, stuff like that.
Yeah, totally. So like we said, they nailed the size of it and the look of it. I think they did really great. Now, it's related to the same Ultium truck chassis that they have underneath the Sierra EV.
Now, wait, you said a keyword there. You said truck chassis.
And actually, I asked them, can I call this a truck? And they said, absolutely you can, Andre. So I was calling it a truck, and Cadillac team agreed.
Okay.
They're also calling it a truck. And with that comes air suspension. With that comes 4-wheel steering and twin motor technology. So they decided not to go with a 3-motor system like
they
the
have on the
Hummer.
Hummer, right?
Yeah. And I think, here's my rub with that. 750 horsepower from 2 motors.
Yeah.
That sounds really, really amazing, right?
Yeah, it's still on. Yeah.
But it's heavy. They didn't quote the weight of this vehicle.
Oh, it's gonna be heavy.
But they did quote the battery size, which they said at least 200 kilowatt hours.
Okay.
That Mercedes we just mentioned has a 108 kilowatt hour battery. So this battery in this Cadillac almost twice the size of a Mercedes.
How big is the battery inside of a Silverado EV? Would you say?
About the same size.
Okay.
So it's a 24. See, they never really actually state the exact usable size of the battery.
Yeah, right, of
For
course.
whatever reason, because battery technologies may change, right? So they may fluctuate between certain ranges.
Solid state and all that can come along and change things too. You
Yeah.
never know.
But they actually came out and said at least producing more than 200 kilowatt hours. This is in their press release.
Okay.
So this is a humongous battery, and 750 horsepower, in my mind, is no longer enough, because they're quoting 5-second-ish accelerations, 0 to 60 acceleration.
That would indicate that this is a very heavy vehicle.
Yeah, and I think the Mercedes is listing at 4.5 seconds, 0 to 60s. The Hummer with 1,000 horsepower truck is about 3.5 seconds, 0 to 60. So all of a sudden, those blistering 0 to 60 times are not part of this Escalade IQ, because 5 seconds is great, but in the world it lives in, it's almost a little bit slowish.
Yeah, I am guessing that may have something to do with the way they are running the battery and how they're trying to stretch out range.
And also because range is huge.
Yes.
You heard that, 450 miles.
So
that's incredible.
That
range.
is an incredible amount of range for an upright, actual SUV-like vehicle.
With a huge front end.
It's massive. So if that's the case, perhaps they're taking a little tiny bit off of one side. That would be 0 to 60 performance, which is still ridiculous at 5 seconds. And moving that over to, hey, we can get a little bit more range if we dial it back a little bit. Now, look, they didn't say that. I have nothing official about that. That's just a guess.
Exactly. And also their decision to go with 2 motors and not 3. I think that's also part of it. One part of it is controlling the price, because they could have said, "Oh, it costs $200,000," right?
Sure, I mean,
but it seems like they were kind of mindful about where this vehicle starts in relation to its competitor vehicles.
Right, and there are other vehicles out there, not just U.S. and German, but other vehicles that are up to that price. And as ridiculous as that is, here's the good news about it, is that a lot of tech that is going into Cadillac, the massive screen you're seeing inside, the platform, the battery tech, the motor tech, all of that stuff trickles down. And eventually you're going to see that in other vehicles for a much less eye-watering price.
Yeah, and of course, this is a 2025 model, as we said. They said it's going to be available in the summer, or production starts in the summer of 2024. So it's about a year away from now. But they've had some issues delivering electric vehicles. Just look at how many Hummers they sold, GMC. I mean, Silverado EV is just beginning to touch customer hands, not quite yet, even though they promised really, spring to summer. We're already almost at the end of summer of 2023.
Well, for Cadillac specifically, the Lyriq is just starting to really get out there too.
Yes.
And it's mostly in the coastal. I know that California is beginning to get them because I've seen a few out there.
It kind of makes sense because, most populous areas and...
the financially well-to-do areas. Of
Yeah.
course, it makes sense. So this is actually following on the heels of the Lyric, and as far as I know, that's it for Cadillac for the near future. They've got nothing else.
As far as electrification that they have announced, right?
Except for one car. It's really long and extraordinarily expensive at over $300,000.
Is that the Celestic?
The Celestic?
Yes.
And I'm sure we're both pronouncing it wrong. That, which we're not going to go into detail about, but that is...
Well, it's like a custom build that Ken built.
It's just a ridiculously expensive vehicle. So...
Oh, by the way,
yes?
I was speaking with Mandy, and you know how they always say, we do not talk about future product?
Yeah?
Right? There's something else brewing. Because I said, well, how about this? And how about that? And they said, stay tuned. So it's not like this IQ Escalade, as nice as it is. I mean, it showcases a lot of their technologies.
Sure.
I think they left a little bit of room to, make it like super, super, super special and more expensive.
So maybe we'll see a V version of this that knocks a second off the time or something
Or
like
something,
that.
and more luxurious. So it's still a 3-row SUV. So let's discuss what they did great, I think, and also what they didn't do so good.
Fire away.
So the front interior is amazing.
Yeah.
That wraparound screen, I think it's a tasteful way of doing it.
It's better, I think, than the way Mercedes-Benz did their Hyperscreen.
Yeah, Mercedes screen is just overwhelming. It's in your face, right?
It's kind of blobbish, and at the same time, you can really tell where the screens are. This one, everything is neatly put together. It looks a little bit less blobbish. Why am I using the term again?
They removed a lot of physical controls, which I think is a mistake. But we haven't used their latest controls, so we can't judge it quite yet.
Yeah, until we actually do, that'd be fair to say.
They have the shifter, right? The park, neutral, reverse.
Which is very similar
drive.
to Mercedes.
It's on the stock. It's on the column.
Yeah.
And then on the center console, they have a rotary dial that you can control many features with.
So like an iDrive type setup, something similar to that.
Yeah.
Right.
And they've
okay.
had similar already in their current vehicles, right? Similar executions, but this is taken to the next level.
Of course.
So I think they did pretty well there.
Okay.
As far as the design of the front. The second row seats also amazing. They said, they used the same creature comforts, ventilation, massage, heat, recline. So the second row passengers, especially with their executive, packages, have a lot of opulence.
There's like a little folding table that comes out.
Yeah,
and
a
stuff
little.
like that.
It's almost like first class seat at an airplane, right?
Right. Gotcha.
So that's quite nice. But I think they kind of forgot about the third row. What about those customers in the third row in coach?
In steerage. Yeah, well, the heck with let them sit back there. They're lucky they get an air conditioning vent, as far as I'm concerned. That's the penalty box.
Okay, well, I'm exaggerating it a little bit, but I think they paid a lot of attention to the front 2 rows, but then the legroom and the entire space of the third row is a little bit compromised, in my opinion.
Really, I would have thought that it would have been pretty big because the regular Escalade, the third row, is usable by adults.
Yeah. Well, I didn't get the chance to climb all over this vehicle. It was a one-off concept.
Yeah, gotcha,
right?
gotcha.
So I couldn't sit in every seat and do all this stuff. But I think they didn't even highlight the third row. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it still exists. Third row, it's a 3-row SUV, which is humongous.
Okay. So what else did they get wrong?
Okay, so I think the price is decent. Considering that their supercharged Escalade starts at 150-ish, getting underneath that price was, I think, really important.
Okay.
To me, and I think to them and their customers. So I think they got that fairly right. I think something else they got right is 4-wheel steering.
Yeah, but I think you're going to see
To make
more
it
and
more
more.
maneuverable.
Right. You're going to see that in more and more vehicles going forward that are electrified. And part of that has to do with the actual setup in the rear. And it's no longer as complex as something that, the Delco steering or whatever it was back in the day. Mercedes-Benz uses a lot of 4-wheel steering as well, up to 10 degrees, which I believe this one does up to 10 degrees as well. And it's very effective. It works really well.
Yeah, it makes a big vehicle seem smaller.
It certainly does.
Yeah, so that's really, really good. So they didn't talk about rough road this is not an off-road vehicle by any stretch.
No,
really.
I would
you know how
imagine
Rivian
snow.
R1S
Yeah.
is another vehicle in this space, but Rivian R1S is really, has an eye for off-roading.
Yep.
Has really great ground clearance, short overhangs.
Yep.
Really smaller wheelbase, also 3-row capable, but this is really streets only.
Yeah, it looks like something that maybe would be somewhat snow capable and it could handle certain things, but for the most part, you do not take this off road, especially with that really, really long wheelbase.
Exactly. So I think fast charging is still here,
Yep.
even though the battery is humongo. It's an 800 volt charging system capable, so it drives in 400 volts, charges in 800 volt, which allows it to charge quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And they say 100 miles can be gained in 10 minutes. So that's basically what the GMC Hummer vehicles are capable of.
Right.
And also the Silverado Sierra EV trucks are capable of. But, you said Beverly Hills in the very beginning.
Yep.
I think there's probably more charging locations in California than in the rest of the country, just because of the population density. It might be hard to drive this cross country still because of charging network issues.
Yeah, but that's not a slant against Cadillac.
No.
They've made other mistakes, but that's not one of them. And besides, by the time this thing is out there on the road, you'll be able to use Tesla chargers as well.
And ACS, different standard, and hopefully, actually, they didn't say if they will initially sell this with a different plug or if they will transfer to the Tesla NACS standard right away.
Mm-hmm.
But that kind of makes sense, actually, because it's a new vehicle.
Well, what other car companies are doing that are offering electric vehicles within the year is that they're offering the first batch are CCS with a adapter, and then later on they'll be replaced by the NACS with an adapter for CCS.
Totally.
Yeah.
Another thing I think they got a little tiny bit wrong is towing.
Really?
This is really important to me.
Yes.
Truck channel, right? Truck podcast.
Right.
This will have a hitch. The concept did not have a hitch, by the way, so I couldn't confirm this.
Okay.
But they said it's going to have a hitch. They did something really amazing, though. They included the trailer brake controller. If you can believe it or not. So that's great. But only 8,000 pounds of towing. 8,000. So I was thinking, what are you towing if you own a Cadillac Escalade?
Horse.
One horse. Or 2 horses.
You can do 2 horses, couldn't you?
Yeah, 2 horses.
Okay.
Yeah, that's easy. But what if you have a large boat? And I'm thinking about, one of those 25-foot, like a ski nautique, very, very expensive ski boat that approaches 9 or 10,000 pounds on a trailer. What if you couldn't
You
tow
hire
that?
somebody else because you have the means to do so?
Or you use your GMC heavy duty?
Yeah, you pull your old stinky truck out of the garage and to tow it. That's a whole different topic. But I see what you're saying about towing, though.
Oh, I see. What you do is you go to your lake house.
Yes.
And the boat is already there. It's
Right.
at the lake.
Yeah, you have somebody actually deliver it for you. It's my point about having the means to do so. Look, if you can afford a $130,000 vehicle, you can afford to have somebody else take your boat out of storage and bring it to the lake. But in all honesty, okay, the towing amount, this is something that's been driving me crazy. And I want to throw this out there. I'm not going to do a full rant. But a lot of automakers, especially those who are building trucks and SUVs that are electric, are saying they could tow 5,000, 7,000, 8,000, 10,000 pounds, whatever it may be.
Sure.
But they're not giving you details on how or what type of loop that they're stating that can go on. What is your lossage? And I know that that's a general thing because it's never the same. But for the most part, is that a 100-mile loop at elevation? Is that a 100-mile loop where you go up 1,000 feet? There are so many things. And then what is exactly your mileage when that happens? So I think that without that, simply saying that something can tow something isn't accurate. It should be can tow something with this type of degradation. or
Yeah,
just have a loss.
they did not announce degradation in their initial
Of course
release.
not, and they're not going to. And I'm not blaming Cadillac. This is a universal issue that covers all automakers.
Well, that's why we're here.
Yes.
We're gonna hook up a trailer to this,
And we're gonna tow it.
But my thing is, I wanted to see like 10,000 pound number. I wanted to see a bigger number. What you might be towing your large Airstream.
Well, with over
behind
700
you.
horsepower, and what's the torque roughly?
It's like almost 800 pound-feet of
Okay,
torque.
so with that much power and torque, you would figure it could easily tow 10,000,
Or
15,000.
20 million pounds.
Right,
for
right,
that
right.
matter.
But here's where I'm going with this. Maybe they did that, limiting the towing, so they can maintain some form of respectable range. Maybe it's exactly half the range and over adjusted amount of highway. Maybe that's where they're going with this. And so that's why they want to keep your numbers lower so they can extend that range. That's a guess.
Yeah, but so you see where my criticisms
Yes.
are. So my criticisms are: it could have had a little bit more power, it could have had a slightly higher tow rating,
Right.
and would have been a little bit quicker, 0 to 60. But I think overall, from where Escalade has been to where it's going now
Right.
with this electric model, I think they really did a great job, style-wise, feature-wise, and the rest.
I would agree, but there's one final gripe I have.
What's that?
Really is there's just no buttons. They're pretty much like no buttons.
Well,
And
the trailer brake controller is
you
an
get to
actual
squeeze
button.
a little
Yeah,
tiny
the little
thing.
squeezy
Oh,
thing.
that's cute. No, think about your average buyer of a Cadillac product. For the most part, they're going to be slightly older, and I would imagine many of those people would be very happy to have controls that they understand and controls that didn't require them to look away from the road to see them. Screen. And now, we haven't driven it yet, so maybe they have a really good setup and a great eye level or something like that for this whole thing. We don't know, but I'm just off the top of my head, I could tell you that getting rid of buttons and going strictly to screen-based buttons and whatnot usually doesn't work for me.
Yeah, well, they did give us a knob on the center console, so hopefully that does a lot of things already with the knob, right?
Yeah, we'll see if that's enough. So let's move on to another electric vehicle that is also, well, technically a truck.
Yeah, in the news. And before we do, I wanted to bring up one other point is autonomy, right? Autonomous driving or semi-autonomous driving. The new Escalade IQ will be capable of Super Cruise and also Ultra Cruise.
Ultra Cruise.
Ultra. So Ultra Cruise is something that Mandy mentioned, right? It's basically, they call it driveway to driveway. So actually not just highway driving, but also through the city. Driving, extended periods of time, hands-free. But the driver still has to pay attention.
Okay.
And they were able to integrate a lot of the sensors, including LiDAR sensors, radar, and cameras. All, there's nothing bulbous on top of this vehicle.
No, I have not seen
they
anything
hid
like-
all the sensors. They're hidden.
Behind
So
the grill and behind the
behind the
glass
rear
and
bumper,
all.
behind the glass,
Sure.
everything is hidden. So I think that execution was really great. And now there's another electric entry into the space. Well, future space.
Right. And this comes from Heinrich Fisker.
Fisker Incorporated Alaska pickup.
Right, which, by the way, I think really does look the business. I love the proportions of it. There are a lot of questions, and we don't have a lot of answers. First of all, yes, this is based essentially off of their brand new Fisker Ocean, which has gone into production. And he has
But not
delivered...
delivering many
No, not
units.
yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. And it is being built by Magna Steyr.
Exactly. In Austria.
Austria, that's it.
Yes.
Very important point here. It's only recently gone into production. I'm talking about the SUV. And he is talking about perhaps by next year having this vehicle in production as well. And it has many interesting little components to it. For one thing, the bed itself, which is quite large to begin with, actually has a folding, actually retracting bulkhead. It's electrically
like
retracting.
Mid-gate, yep.
Right?
Yep.
And it drops down, and then you could fold the rear seats. And if you unfold the tailgate from the rear seats, basically from the back of the front seats all the way to the tailgate, that's over 9 feet of cargo space lengthwise.
Yeah, so this is really in my mind. The Alaska pickup truck concept by Fisker is squarely aimed at the likes of the Rivian R1T, but it's maybe a tiny bit smaller than that.
It looks smaller to me.
And also, he says more affordable.
Well, that's the thing. So far, Fisker has sworn up and down that his prices are going to be lower than most people's. And I got to be honest with you. So far, yeah, his SUV, he has not given it a major price bump from when he announced it to when it went into production. However, we have yet to get our hands on one, so we don't know what it's going to be priced like right here at in our home. But if he can maintain cheap pricing, this might be the deal of the century for people who are looking for EV pickup trucks.
Yeah. What do you think about the name, Alaska?
It's okay.
Is it adventurous enough for you?
It's kind of funny because, actually I'm wearing the shirt. One of the shirts. This isn't the right one. But the Alaska shirt, which was our going to Alaska in a Ford electric pickup truck. That was a very difficult trip because Alaska's infrastructure was dreadful.
Non-existent electric charging, basically.
Which is really funny in my mind to name an electric truck Alaska. But I get the point, which is Alaska's a rugged area and, it's got a lot of undeveloped areas and, all that. It's absolutely true. So there are better names out there, but that's not a bad one.
Yeah, so it's adventurous enough. A lot of people were making jokes that this truck will not drive across Alaska, but will... that's, in the future, it'll be different, of course.
Of course, it'll be different in the future.
Fairbanks, Alaska has a couple of stations, and they're not super fast chargers.
No.
And beyond that, Anchorage has a few stations, but then beyond that, there's not a lot of charging.
Yeah, you're lucky if you can find a house where you can plug in 110 at this point. So.
He stated... one of the targets is early 2025 build process, so Q1 of 2025. He said he wanted to see one maybe by the end of 2024. And starting price for the Fisker Alaska is stated at $45,400. Unbelievable starting price.
That is just a little above what Ford was originally asking for their Pro version, Pro, right?
Yeah,
Pro version of the F-150 with the smaller battery, basically their entry-level version of that. And as you guys very well know, Ford went and bumped the hell out of those prices later on. And bear in mind also that those Fords that I'm referring to were only available for fleet sales. So in that respect, if he can maintain that price, then this could be a hell of a bargain.
And also, we don't know where this pickup truck will be made, because if it's made in Austria, it will have a chicken tax attached to it.
Yes.
On its way here.
Which is a 25% tax. So that's one issue. And then the other, of course, is that you're not eligible for the tax credit on the battery because once it gets built in Austria. However, there are rumblings that this may not be built in Austria.
That could be built somewhere in North America.
If so, North America, that's including Canada, if it is built in this part of the world, it's entirely possible that you could get that discount. But once again, these are a lot of ifs. And until we see an actual production version of this driving around, I'm not going to hold my breath. Although, to be fair to Fisker, almost everything he's laid his hands on, he's made happen, for good or for bad. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but it was never very, very, high volume vehicles, right?
Not at
He's
first.
an amazing designer, right?
Indeed.
Just look at this design of this pickup truck.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
In fact, a lot of people were commenting on some of our articles saying that this is too wild, it cannot be produced. But new technologies exist, and a lot of this stuff we're seeing here can be productionalized and can be made in high quantities.
Yep.
So, kudos to him and his team to designing something, I think, quite attractive. And also, I want to make another comment about this. He mentioned being lightweight. So the Cadillac Escalade IQ, I would not call lightweight. We don't know its weight. But
it's going to be heavy.
It's probably over 8,000 pounds.
I would imagine so,
right?
Yeah.
He mentioned low price, also 230 miles of range to start, which is fairly low range, but that means smaller battery and lower weight.
Yes, it does.
Which is, I think, good things. Not everybody wants to go 400 miles on a charge.
No, for an in-city little pickup that you can run around with, that may be the way to go. There's a lot that we don't know about this truck, and none of these numbers are official yet. And as much as we admire the design, and this is a lot closer to production than, say, some of these other things that we've seen in the past that have turned into be vaporware. This could be a really interesting truck. There could be a larger battery. All of these things could happen. But once again, until we actually have something that we can drive, I'm going to be a little skeptical.
Yeah. So, well, I would say, the Escalade IQ has a much higher chance of being sold in high volumes than the Alaska truck at this moment.
At this moment
in
okay,
time.
fair enough. Yeah.
All right. Do you want to switch gears again?
Yes, switch gears
just
and
really quick.
yes, we can draw this down.
Because we need to wind it down.
Yep.
I wanted to mention another couple of quick news. So you and I recently did an entire, I would say, history of the Titan.
Well, we covered its history and its pros and cons.
Pros and cons. Why is it being discontinued? It is being discontinued
Yes, it
after
is.
2024.
Yep.
So about a year from now, stop production of the Titan.
Yep.
In fact, ironically, to make for electric vehicle future.
Yes, that's correct. But they weren't specific in terms of what electric vehicles those would be at the Canton plant.
In Mississippi.
Right.
Exactly. So if you're interested to know more about the 2024 Titan and its demise, and also why we think it was great and why it failed, check out tfl.com.
Absolutely.
Also, Zach, our wonderful office manager
And producer extraordinaire.
and producer and
editor.
writer
Yep.
and editor, he wrote a story about a tiny compact pickup truck possible from Toyota.
That's right, based on the Corolla. By the way, that story was originally produced by me over a year ago.
Thank you. Sorry, credit must be due.
Yeah, but Zach covered this and put together a very nice story about it. And we know that Toyota is keeping a really close eye on Maverick and, to a lesser extent, probably Santa Cruz.
Yes.
And there is no reason why they won't produce a vehicle. There's been a lot of rumors about them reusing the name Stout, which was one of their original names for their pickup truck when it first came to the States. So there's a lot of rumors going on, but nothing concrete about when, where, and what.
Yes. Do you want my 2 cents?
Yes.
Just really quick. I think it's a good idea. I think small pickups, there's still room for those. But if it looks like a Corolla Sport front end with a bed attached to it, I think they'll have limited success.
Yeah.
That's just my take on it.
I agree with you.
Just look at the Maverick and the Santa Cruz. They're a little bit more butch. They're a little bit more square. The Santa Cruz is kind of has its own thing going on.
The Santa Cruz looks a little bit like a lot like a crossover.
Yeah, but I think if this is too much like a crossover, there'll be a lot of jokes about it being a crossover with a bed and unusable.
Yep.
And so I think they really need to make it more macho.
Well, that's the good news, because they actually took a design from one of their electric vehicles, very, very popular with a lot of people when they were looking at this one electric concept, which was it was a cruiser concept that was all electric.
Like electric cruiser.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
There was a name for it. Anyway, so that seems to have translated over to what the Land Cruiser is now, and there's two different Land Cruiser designs, right? So what's to stop Toyota from making a similar type of bold design and adding it to some sort of small crossover pickup? I say there's nothing, and it would be really smart of them to continue on that path, because judging by the feedback we've received on the new Land Cruiser, it is a remarkably popular design. And so keeping that up, there it is. And
if there was a pickup truck designed like this cruiser concept, I would send my money right now to Toyota.
a lot of our competitors have actually morphed images where they take like the back of a Maverick and then the front of this and put it together and say, here's the new Stout. And it's not. There's a lot.
They have not announced it, no.
Yeah, they have not announced it, but they look really good. And I've seen two different renderings. One where they use round headlights, and that looks really good, and the other one where they're using the front end of this cruiser concept, and it looks really good. So, Toyota's already got people like, here's a design that you can use. Go ahead and do it. But the question, of course, is whether or not they'll do it, and if there's a financial reward for them, a return on their investment. And I say there is.
Yeah, but if it's a Corolla Cross underneath, that's okay, as long as it looks like this.
Well, especially a hybrid, because
Yes.
the Corolla Cross Hybrid has all-wheel drive, something the Ford Maverick Hybrid does not have yet.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then finally, I just wanted to mention, so we're still testing a lot of big trucks, and part of it is classic trucks.
Yes.
So our OBS, our old body style Ford F-250, I recently got together with David, so that video also is on alltfl.com, and we compared our Ford F-250 diesel Power Stroke to his Dodge Ram at the time. It was still Dodge. Dodge Ram pickup 5.9 common rail.
Yeah, actually different trucks from slightly different periods, but
Different eras.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting video nonetheless, and I highly recommend it.
Yes, thank you. And it's always great to get David's perspective.
The
on
dude
things.
literally owns a ranch and works it every day and knows how a proper work truck should function. And so his take on everything that we've given him to look at has been invaluable because it's a perspective we don't have, frankly.
And also, we were helping his ranch. We were moving hay for his yaks.
By we mean you, of course.
Well, yes, and his ranch is called Happy Yak Ranch, and we don't want sad yaks. No. Am I pronouncing that correctly, by the way? Yaks?
Of course you are,
Okay.
yeah. And at one point we used to call it the Yakadega Raceway, too, because we had a little track kind of set up there, too. So it's an interesting video. It's a contrasting video showing what a regular work truck, what's needed versus what has been provided, and his perspective on it. And I highly recommend checking it out.
And how they compare to brand new trucks.
Well, exactly.
Which is spectacular, amazing.
Yeah.
How far pickup trucks have gone.
Things have changed significantly in the past few decades.
So there you have it. So here's your news all packaged into one.
Yep.
And thank you for joining us. Hopefully you found this interesting. An inside look at the Cadillac IQ Escalade, and even more news than that.
What did you call it again? You call it the Escalade?
Escaladic.
Yes, yeah, I like that one better.
Escaladic, it's like endearing to me. It's an endearing term.
So I'm curious too what names you're going to use, those of you who are watching and listening. And please let us know.
Especially in Beverly Hills, if you're listening to us.
Oh my God. All right, let us know in the comments below and have a wonderful week.